Hey folks, we finally have some merchandise available. RugbyLeagueMerch.com is where you'll find SharkCast merchandise. RugbyLeagueMerch.com. Hats, t-shirts, stubby holders, coffee mugs, just for a start. A lot more coming in the season ahead. RugbyLeagueMerch.com. We've kept the prices down as much as we can. Check out the fine print for postage, but we do believe that Scott at Rugby League Merch is doing a great job. Happy to align ourselves with him, and any questions, please drop us a line. Check out rugbyleaguemerch.com for all your SharkCast merchandise needs, whether it's for you or a family friend or anyone else in your tribe. So check it out, rugbyleaguemerch.com.
Sharkies! Sharkies!
Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming out with a trophy.
Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Halls at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi. I'm an OG from 2015. This is our 8th season, coming into our 9th season of podcasting for everybody interested. Cannot wait to dive into the new season, which is coming around very quickly. We are on the social media if you want to follow us there, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is a very, very slow build. So just a warning there, a asterisk, just be warned that it's a slow build, the YouTube channel. It'll probably never get to where I want it to be, but slowly we're going to add things to it, do things on there. At the moment, the big addition is that we're going to add these episodes to YouTube. So it won't be a visual thing, but you'll be able to listen to the show via YouTube if that's something you want to do. A number of you have reached out and requested that, and we've been able to do that from here on in. So I don't think the old episodes will be going up at this stage, but for example, you can stream the episode from earlier this week with Ash Taylor. It's there on YouTube for you to stream if you want. Thank you to those of you that have bought our merchandise via rugbyleaguemerch.com. Really appreciate it. It's there if you want to have a look. Bunch of different items for different purposes, and we'll be building that over the off-season and particularly into the new season next year, working on different ways to make it accessible to you in the quickest and most affordable way, and for the best quality product that we can get for you. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a slow build, a little bit like the YouTube channel, but stick with us. We're going to try and provide you with some fun, some content, some entertainment, more importantly than content, and appreciate all your support so far. Did I mention you can write to us, sharkcastpod@gmail.com. Super grateful for those of you that do that, whether it's every now and then or regularly. Very much appreciated. The biggest news of the week is that the Sharks are back in training, which is wonderful. So the younger crew, as well as some of the fringe first graders, are back in training. And over time, you'll see the higher level players come back. And of course, the last ones being involved will probably be the World Cup players. The other big news is that the NRL Draw has been released. These days, that's a very big topic. Whether that's for you or not, I'm not sure. I'm interested in it, absolutely. Good to see who we're going to play, how many times we're going to play them, where, the environment, time of day, whether we can go traveling a little bit. The whole thing to me is pretty cool. So I'm glad that the NRL do make a bit of a spectacle about it. I'm glad that they do release it in a timely manner. Shortly, we're going to be discussing how the Sharks draw looks, and hope you can stick around for that. This is a short, sharp episode, and we'll be back with more episodes throughout summer, as I've said all along. Not sure when they'll drop, but it's a good reason for you to subscribe for free to this podcast via your podcast application or website, and therefore you'll be notified as soon as an episode drops. Back after this short break with some chat, analysis, and thoughts on the draw. This is SharkCast Pod. Dyson Logistics have been on board with SharkCast since day one, and because of that and their excellent service, we are proud to be associated with them. Dyson Logistics provides tailored logistical solutions to meet your individual client needs and is set apart by its personalised service. Dyson is a strong worldwide agent network, enabling highly competitive rates, and I should also point out their head honcho is a lifelong season ticket holder of the mighty Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Find them online, www.dysonlogistics.com, or call them on 02 8339 1844. Dyson Logistics, service delivered.
The Shire tonight extends to the centre of Sydney. Enters to Maloney. Maloney off the right foot. Maloney to the goal line for Cronulla. And that has forced the ball.
Ben Cummins in a perfect position there to rule on whether he scored the try or not.
James Maloney maintains possession
No
of the
doubt
ball
about
and
it.
grounds it
Still
in
got the
goal.
ball
So
on
the
his
decision
hand.
going to the ball.
The Royal Motor Yacht Club Port Hacking is a hidden gem of the Shire, situated on the banks of the beautiful Port Hacking. It's a great place to catch up with friends, celebrate your birthday or any special occasion, and they always show the NRL live on the big screens. They also have live acoustic music on weekends. Yachty's Bistro is open 7 days and nights for lunch and dinner, and they also do a phenomenal breakfast on weekends. If you mention SharkCast, you get a free garlic bread, baby. The RMYC Port Hacking, proud sponsors of this podcast and big supporters of the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Check out their website, rmycph.com.au. They've got a Facebook page, or you could go old school and call them on 02 9523 9300. Welcome back to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, your mighty Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. And the 2023 NRL Draw has been revealed. It's out there for everyone to see. Depending on your thoughts on how a draw looks, this may be of great interest to you, or it may just be mere background noise. Either way, let's have a bit of a chat about the draw for 2023. Last season, you'll remember that all we heard about as Sharks supporters was our soft draw. Particularly the second half of the season, but throughout we were told about the soft draw. And I don't subscribe to that. I think any draw in the NRL is going to be a tough one. It's a physical game. If you're playing the worst team in the comp, you could still get beaten up by them. You could still get a bit battered. You could still suffer injuries. So I'm not a big believer in the soft draw, but I do understand where people come from in the sense that you are playing weaker teams. The Sharks made great use of that, and they climbed up to second position at the end of the season. And then in the final series, they were found out a little bit. We're not sure why. It could have been because they weren't physically prepared like they would have been against tougher teams previously, but they may not have finished as high as they did if they'd played the tougher teams. So it's a catch-22 situation. And that's why, as far as soft draws go, tough draws go, I don't read too much into it, but there is some truth in there at the same time, as confusing as that is for me to say. We do start the season with some tough games, and that is at home on a Saturday night against South Sydney, and then in round 2 we play Parramatta at their home ground, and then an away trip to Canberra. So it's not the easiest of starts. So the most notable thing for me when I look at this draw initially is the amount of travel the Sharks will be doing. And that includes a trip to Perth, a trip to New Zealand. A lot of teams are in the same boat minus the Perth situation, so it's not suggesting that it's going to cause trouble or anything, but it is significant that they will be travelling, particularly towards the end of the season. There are 3 buys in this competition for each team. Our buys come in round 6, round 13 and round 17. So looking at the buy situation, for me round 6 is a little bit early than what I'd prefer. I'd prefer probably 8, 9, 10. And then the fact that there's buys in round 13 and 17, they're a little bit too close together for my liking. I'd prefer something a bit more spread out. Now again, our club's going to be run by coaching staff that knows what's going on, including new and improved fitness and physio and specialists. So not a problem. I'm just saying if I was mapping out the Sharks' buys, I'd probably like it just a little bit different. But round 6, round 13, and round 17, definitely time to freshen up. That's beautiful. They only play the Panthers, the Eels, the Storm, and the Roosters. So 4 of the best teams in the comp. They play them once. So they only play Penrith, Para, Melbourne, and the Roosters once. Dino Mezzatesta and Steve Mace will be very happy that we have 11 free-to-air games. So that's a lot of airtime for our sponsors to be seen. And that's important. That's really important. You could argue that Fox Sports ratings do as good, if not better, than Channel 9. But you see where the positives are here, that anyone with a TV can turn on the channel and see the Sharks and their brand and their sponsors loud and clear. Obviously, with KO, with Fox Sports, you need a subscription. So, as I talked about in the intro, people look at draws differently. Some people don't care at all. It's about how you play on the day, every team's got a chance, etc. Other people take it really, really seriously. They base a whole lot of things on the draw. They base their fantasy tips, their predictions each week, their gambling, their whole system on where things are going to fall, how they're going to fall, who's going to fall where on the draw. And then you can look back on it as the season goes on, see how it's looking. Last year we were deemed to have the easiest draw. And in my opinion, it turned out to be true, and I think we made the most of it. Finished second, you know the rest. This year, according to Fox Sports and the Lab in particular, Fox Sports Lab, the Sharks have the 4th easiest, best, whatever word you want to use, draw. So ahead of them, they have the Raiders, they have Cowboys, and they have the new team, the Dolphins, as the top 3 best draws. The Sharks come in at 4th, and this is why. We play top 8 teams 10 times. We play top 4 teams, and this is obviously based on the season that was, top 4 teams 4 times. We play the bottom 8 13 times, and the bottom 4 6 times. So out of those categories, top 8, top 4, bottom 8, bottom 4, the bottom 8 is featuring with 13, the top 8 is 10, but then bottom 4 6, top 4 4. The teams we play twice are South Sydney, the Dragons, Manly, North Queensland, Newcastle, Canberra, the Warriors, and Canterbury. So out of those teams, you would say, based on the season that was, South Sydney, Manly sort of, North Queensland, and Canberra are the more difficult fixtures. But we play the Dragons, Newcastle, Warriors, and Canterbury twice. So that's pretty favourable. We play the equal second fewest matches against top 8 teams, and we have the fewest matches against top 4 teams in the NRL. So we play the top 4 that was the fewest times in 2023. We play the second most matches against the bottom 8 teams, and the equal second most games against the bottom 4. The Rabbitohs, Cowboys, and Raiders are the only top 8 teams we play twice. Raiders, Cowboys, and Rabbitohs, we play twice. That's all really good. That's all positive based on what happened in 2022. We know that teams can change. We know teams can get better. Teams can get worse. So basing it on the season of 2022, that's how we're looking. Decent as far as the teams you play. Let's look a little bit more into the situations and environment that we will play in.
So on the last it's Hines, and he's going to go to the air again. And oh my goodness!
So round 1, Saturday night, Shark Park, Rabbitohs. That's of the harder challenges in the NRL, you would think. Round 2, Friday night, early game, 6 o'clock, against Parramatta, out at Parramatta. And again, not an easy game to play, although you'd rather have these games earlier in the season when everyone's on the same playing field as far as being a little bit rusty, new combinations, etc. Although in our case, there won't be too many new combinations. Round 3, we go to Canberra and play the late game on Sunday. So again, March, even in Canberra, it'll still be a little bit warm. We're playing in twilight. That's a positive. We then march ahead 1 week exactly to round 4. unfortunately, we have to go back to Cogra. And as I said in a text to my friend Nathan Brooks just before, I was hoping to never go back to that cesspool ever in my life. However, part 1 of the derby, round 4, 6:15 p.m, Sunday, March 26th. Following Sunday, 4 o'clock against the Warriors at home. Then we have the bye. So, first 5 rounds. Souths, Para, Canberra, Dragons, Warriors. We want to win them all. I don't know if we're at that point now where we talk about, well, if we win 3 out of 5, it's a good start. We want to win them all. That's where we're at now with our club. Our club is amongst the elite based on last year, and let's just keep rolling ahead. So week off round 6. Round 7, we play the Roosters on a Friday night, 6 o'clock at home. The following Saturday, round 8, we play Canterbury at Homebush. Then on the following Thursday, round 9, we play the Cowboys at home, Thursday night football. Round 10 is Magic Round, and the Sharks take a home game up there to Suncorp. And in what's going to be a historic match, our first ever game against the Dolphins. Shark, Dolphin, it's quite funny to look at the image on the draw and you see a Shark versus a Dolphin. That's kind of humorous to me. Don't know why. Then, round 11, one of the toughest games of the year always, but we've proven we can win there. Brookvale Oval, round 11 against Manly. That's a Sunday afternoon game. Round 12, our new home away from home, Coffs Harbour. 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff against the Knights. Round 13, bye. Round 14, Saturday night at Shark Park against the Broncos. I'm getting flashbacks to the 90s. That's not hard for me to do. Round 15, Sunday afternoon, we go to Melbourne to play. A week later, we have the Bulldogs at home on a Sunday afternoon. Then round 17 is the bye. Round 18, Thursday the 29th of June, 7:50 kickoff. Sharks v Dragons at home. Home derby. Put it in your diaries now. 29th of June, a Thursday. I feel like the powers that be could have given us a slightly more favourable home derby. Maybe a 4 o'clock kickoff, 2 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday, just to really pack out the place and make it really the place to be. But Thursday night, we've still got that restricted capacity, so it should be fine. I don't know what I'm talking about here, but you know what I'm saying. A Thursday night for a derby. Whew. Week later, Thursday night again. Some would say match of the round, West Tigers v Sharks at Parramatta, Combank Stadium. It's a couple of Thursdays in a row there for you. Then we have a 10-day turnaround, Sunday in New Zealand. So we go to New Zealand, a Sunday 2 o'clock Australian time kickoff. A week later, round 21, Manly at home, Sunday afternoon. The team we play once during the regular season, round 22, we go to Penrith. Round 22, 7:35 kickoff on a Saturday night. Then a week later, we are in Perth. The Sharks are going to Perth, a place they've played before, and that sounds like a road trip for many who are able to. South v the Sharks, Perth, 5th of August. Then we play the Titans at home on a Friday early kickoff, round 24. Following week, we are up in Townsville on a Thursday night. So Cowboys, Sharks, Thursday night in Townsville, followed by round 26 at Newcastle, a Sunday afternoon game. And then we round it out at home. We finish at home. We probably will be farewelling our legendary captain Wade Graham, and this has got a lot of synergy here, a lot of history repeating itself. So we're playing Canberra at home, last regular season home game. It's also the last regular season game for us. 4 o'clock on a Sunday, we're playing Canberra. Wade Graham, potentially last home game. Who knows what's going on there? I'm going off way too early. You know what I'm saying. We played them and Paul Gallen had his farewell match at Shark Park and they broke our hearts. So, looking at that last bit of the schedule, round 20 we're in Auckland. We come home and play in Cronulla. We go to Penrith. We go to Perth. Go to Cronulla. Go to Townsville. Go to Newcastle. Go to Cronulla. I think there's a little bit of a watch this space here is how they perform with all that travelling going on. I'm hoping it'll be like 2022 where we're just in a great position no matter what. And if they drop a game, well, so be it. Obviously, this team wants to win every game they're in. They've shown they're competitive in every game they play. It's a Craig Fitzgibbon thing. I don't expect that to change. But those last 5 or 6, 7 games, there is a bit of travel involved. So no doubt the conditioners and the coaching staff are already working on that right now, I would think. They've got their schedules out, they've got their maps out, they've got their applications out, and I believe they would be thinking about plans about how to handle the travel. That is the Sharks draw. It's the 4th easiest according to Fox Sports and the Lab, who I trust dearly. Of course, it all depends upon how the team plays on the day.
Here it comes. Hydes for the win. Nico Hydes is ice cool. It's Cronulla's night. They've done it again at the death in the Shire.
Looking at Shark Park specifically, we open round 1 at PointsBet Saturday night against Souths. Then round 5 against the Warriors, a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Then round 7, Friday 6 p.m. against the Roosters. Round 9, Thursday evening against the Cowboys. Round 14 against the Broncos on a Saturday night. Round 16 against the Bulldogs on a Sunday afternoon. Round 18, local derby, Thursday night. Sunday afternoon, round 21 against Manly. And then we finish up with 2 games, round 24 against the Titans on a Friday evening, 6 o'clock. And then we have the final game of the year, as mentioned before, the Raiders on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. If you have any thoughts on the draw, who we're playing, where you're going to go, love to hear what's happening, sharkcastpod@gmail.com. And speaking of which, we have a little bit of correspondence to get through. So let's do that right now as I open up lots of inboxes. First of all, we had Michael writing to us, and Michael's referring to the episode that we did earlier in the week, and that was with the excellent Ash Taylor, good mate of the show, and the new Sharks Club historian. He says, fantastic episode. Like Sam said, I was living my life through Ash's eyes and experiences too. So Michael sounds like he's of our vintage and just bleeds black, white and blue. So thanks so much for your feedback there, Michael. Really appreciate it. Thanks for following us on the Insta and for tuning in, of course. SharkCast is supported by the best and most honest real estate agent in the Sutherland Shire, Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. He's an expert in the Caringbah region and has his eye all across the Shire. Lifelong Sharks fan and supporter of this podcast, if you're looking to buy or sell in the region, the person you need to be talking to is Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Call him on 0410 417 450. That's 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes, Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Lee has written to us and asked how much Wade Graham will be earning in his final season in 2023 on his new contract extension. And Lee, I did a bit of investigating after I replied to you, and we're going to estimate that it's at between 180 and 200,000. That is just an estimate, so keep that in mind when passing on that information, but it's very much a low-tier contract. And I would find it hard to believe that it would be any more than the figure I just mentioned. So it'd be very interesting to see how they use Wade next year. There's going to be a bit more on that in a minute, so just hang on to the Wade Graham thoughts. But Lee, thanks so much for being in touch, as always. Paul has written to us and asked, November 1 has happened. Who is your top 5 realistic re-signings or buys for Cronulla? Excellent question. Appreciate your support as always. And have to think about this one. There is speculation around on David Klemmer leaving the Knights. And the Sharks have been mentioned in a few breaths along with West Tigers and a few other clubs as to where he might land if he was to leave. I did some chasing up on this one. I can't give you anything concrete at the moment that the Sharks are after David Klemmer, but I do think that if they could afford him, if they could get him in the cap, Newcastle would have to pay a fair amount of that to make it happen. But I would think that the Sharks would be interested in him. I do think they would be, as far as his on-field playing style. Like, he's a mean prop when he wants to be, and we can never have enough of that in our team. So I think if the Clemmer option is there, they will certainly look into it. Wait and see on him. But I think, Paul, that he would be my number one choice at the moment, realistically. So I do think we need a bit more mongrel up front. We've spoken about it off-season that our props at times, in my opinion and in some of the other hosts' opinions, they can go missing a little bit. And we saw it in the finals, guys that we love and adore. They just didn't get the job done when needed. And I think that if you bring in someone like Clemmer, it relieves a bit of that pressure for them to do it in that high-profile situation where you can rely on others to help you. It doesn't mean we don't want them to play at a lesser level, but if there was a Clemmer there, well, that situation wouldn't have been so dire in those games. A lot of experience. You know what you're getting with him. I don't know enough about him off the field to say don't get him, but I would, very seriously look at Clemmer as my number one choice. I think utility-wise and halves-wise, we're doing okay. So guys like Jackson Hastings, the Tigers, and even your Luke Brooks, or those guys who seem a bit disgruntled, I'm not really that interested in them. I'm not saying that they couldn't help us out, but I think we have enough of those utility-type players to get by on for the next year or two. Depending on what you're doing with your centres, I'd be looking at a centre maybe, and just looking at a website that is featuring off-contract players for each club. Just going through the list, and how up-to-date this is, I'm not sure. But Luke Thompson from the Bulldogs, I think he'd command too much money for what he's going to give you. Brian Kelly at the Titans, nah. I'll tell you who I like, and you'd have to get him fit and firing, but Greg Marzu from the Titans, he's very effective with tackle busts and scoring tries, and they played him on the wing. I think they played him off the bench as well. He could be someone that you could possibly pick up to do a bit of damage. There looks to be a bunch of Melbourne forwards coming off contract, high-profile names, mid-tier and lower-tier guys. They could be of use given the fact that they're from that system that's so excellent, and they could be handy, just some more forwards. I'll tell you who I really like. I'm not sure if this is factual or not, these off contract, but Bunty Afoa at the Warriors. I'd definitely look into seeing what we could do with Bunty. Tyson Frizzell, if you could make it work for the money, I'd be interested in him for lots of different reasons. I think that he's a quality player, quality human. There's history at the club, obviously. I think he's got a bit left to offer. I really look at his career as being one that never really took off in a lot of ways because of the circumstances he found himself in, the teams that he went to, the seasons that his teams had. I don't think we ever really saw the best of Tyson Frizzell in a lot of ways. I'd be interested for him to finish his career at the Sharks. Where he fits in, whether it's front row or edge, I like him on the edge. That's for others to decide. Tanua Brown from the Cowboys looks like he's off contract soon. That could be something. Liam Knight's coming off contract. He grew up as a Sharks fan. That's an interesting little storyline. Again, injury prone. Haven't really seen the best of him. He sort of found his way into first grade. He dominated a little bit, but then just sort of fell out of favour a little bit towards the last year or so. I guess the other big one that I would look at, and I know that they have a relationship already, is Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. I think that Hargreaves is a phenomenal player. Obviously to me, maybe not to others, but I love the way he plays. I know that he carries on a little bit with the aggression too much, but if he was in your team, I reckon you'd love him. You wouldn't love the penalties he gives away, but or the suspensions, but I think he's not worlds apart from Clemmer. They're mature, they're tough buggers, they're going to give you everything they got. I kind of lean towards JWH over Clemmer. That would be an option too for me. They're just some of the guys, Paul, that I'm looking at. But out of that list, I think Clemmer and JWH would be the ones I'd be targeting. Again, whether you could make it work with the cap, that's the biggest challenge you're going to have. Tony wrote to us. Thanks so much, Tony, for being in touch. He said, I've heard from a lot of Shark supporters regarding their disappointment about Will Kennedy's finals performances. It was a massive ask to expect him to come back humming, as I believe that fullback is the hardest position to return to after a long layoff. Pappenhausen of the Storm also struggled upon his return in 2021 when he pushed Nico to the bench. Cheers, Tony. So Tony's sticking up for Will Kennedy there a bit, which I'm happy to see because no one really likes to see their players being bashed around by their own fan base, I definitely can see why people were disappointed in Will's performances. I was disappointed in his performances as well. I'm sure he was to an extent, but that was circumstantial in my opinion only. But Tony, I'm leaning towards your way of thinking. So I also thought that he would struggle coming back. I feel like Will's a guy that needs a few games to get back into it, and that's sort of how he played. So he's got a big off-season ahead of him and big season ahead to lock down that position. He's also off contract. We're going to finish with Alan, who's written to us. On a few of the last episodes, we were talking about if Will Kennedy was to be replaced, and Alan has said in this order, this is how he would go. He would have Cade Dykes as his first preference, then Cale Iro, Connor Tracy, and Lockie Miller in that order. Also, some correspondence from Alan about the re-signing of Wade Graham. We mentioned that he could change his style of play, to which Alan said, come on, he's played 15 years, he's 32, and you expect him to change now. I only assume he'll be a bench player and not a starter. So just on that, Alan, it is definitely my opinion that he could change his game, given the position and role that he may play. Now, in his press statement, he said he was open to all those kind of things. He said all the right words. The coach hasn't come out and said anything about his plans for Wade just yet. The coach may come out and say, he's our starting second rower. What are you talking about? But, as you've pointed out, and we all realise, there are a bunch of young guys ready to take over that position. So, I'm of the opinion that Wade is going to have to change his style. He's going to have to become more of a middle forward. And he's done that off the bench the past year from time to time. And he has played some lock in his career as well from time to time. I don't think he's going to become classic middle forward prop, but I think it'll be more that than what he has historically done. So I think he will change his game up a little bit. He says thanks and stay well up. Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it. If you have thoughts on what we've talked about in the episode today, if you have thoughts on the draw, the upcoming season, please drop us a line, sharkcastpod@gmail.com, or DM us on Facebook SharkCast account, Instagram SharkCast account, Twitter SharkCast account. Till we speak again, take care. Up Cronulla.
Sharkies! Sharkies!
Fafita tries to crash his way over, he does! Fafita got the ball over the line!
And to all you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.